I'm going to go a little off the rails on this one. Actually, I want to talk about how the supernatural might work. And if you know me, you know I don't believe in supernatural, but I know that things happen that look like they're supernatural. And there's people that have angrily told me there is supernatural, buddy. I've had experiences, but let me just say this, that the universe, I'm a very scientific minded individual. The universe is made up of energy, and everything in the universe is energy. And if there's anything in this universe that is functioning that we don't know about, it's not supernatural. It falls somehow in the category of it's going to be natural. It's going to fit in with the laws of the universe. We're not going to find anything out here violating the laws of the universe. So supernatural to me is a way to just say, ooh, that's oogity boogity magic. You can't touch it. I want to look at stuff. I want to understand it. So supernatural is not a term that's in my vocabulary. However, I know thoughts can transmit, that we can have feelings, that we can have instincts. I've had my own experience that I'm going to base this on. And let's go for it and see what we get into here. I'm going to step into some strange water, and why not? Talking about waves, might as well. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel. This is going to be a very layman approach to trying understanding something and talking about waves and potential and possibility waves and how we function in here and how we might have this sort of a transmission happen between us in a natural field. We know that the fields are there and that we are in those fields, that we are emergent from those fields. So let's take a look at that and see what we can come up with. Now, I'm a simple person, and I'm not a physicist. So I'm approaching this in a very rudimentary way. And that's probably good. That's how I have to understand things. If it's too hard for me, I need it in simple terms. So what I'm going to suggest, first of all, is let's take a look at an example of interacting with a wave. Right now, I am being bathed by waves. I'm immersed in waves all around me that I'm not interacting with. But I know how to very specifically react with some that right now I'm not even aware that it's there. I do know that it's there. We'll get to that. Take a look at this, though, and then we'll talk about it. Perfect song, huh? Okay, we know what that is. Here's the deal, and I've flashed different places. What I'm trying to illustrate here is that right now, what we're doing is we are generating radio frequencies. We're replicating what the universe already does. We're not violating the laws. We're generating energy waves, and we're mixing those energy waves together, and we are sending them out, and we're putting specific information on them. So we're doing exactly what the universe is doing on an incredibly tiny scale and a very specific frequency. And it's all around, and anybody with that field is there, and you don't have to interact with it. But at any point in time, anybody that can fit within that field, that has the right way to view it, can pull it up and view that field. It went from probability to reality for each and every individual as soon as they begin to perceive it. And the perception doesn't happen in the ears, it happens at the brain. When we see something, we visualize it, but the perception happens at the level of brain. Everything that we're doing happens at a deeper level. Okay, and that's a frequency, and now, the way the human works within that same thing is that there are fields all around us that we're aware of. One of them is light energy. The energy is visible to the human eye because the human eye is an organic receiver, like the radio that's tuned to pick up within a certain range, and we can dial it in. The eyeball organically developed to become aware of or to interact with energy that exists between certain wavelengths. And there's energy wavelengths in there. For us, in its simplest terms, it's everything from the lowest frequency that we can see, red, all the way up to the highest frequency we can see. It goes through the entire color spectrum until it gets to violet. Infrared too low, ultraviolet too high. So it gets out of our range. We are no longer like on the radio. It tunes too far, it goes too far away, it's out of range, but it's still there. Visual, the energy didn't go away. It's still there. It's just now out of our capacity to see it. Other animals can. Hearing, same way. We hear at a certain frequency range, much lower frequency range than what we see, but we're interacting with waves of energy in the environment all the time. That is how it's working. We are within waves. We can see waves. We can understand those waves are there. Okay, so at some point, the universe starts and it sends out energy waves, and these energy waves crash into each other like if you threw a couple of stones in a pond and watch the ripples go together. Imagine bunches of those happening, only so big that they keep, more of them ripples and ripples, that all these little patterns get smaller and smaller and smaller as they scatter all over the place. And that somehow in the midst of that process, way downstream, here we are. How we got here, I don't know. We're emergent from that, though. We didn't come from magical outside the universe. We are products of what is going on in the universe. So the probability of matter exists, but it actually does exist. We can interact with it, can't we? In fact, it's as if, as long as we're conscious and we're aware, we're going to interact with Earth. It's as if you have a radio station playing that you cannot turn off. And as long as you're awake, you're listening to it. Only when you shut off does it go away. That's what life is. I think at the basic level, that we are interacting with probability waves, but we're having an experience within it, and we are physical within it. This would be why in the double slit experiment, you go, well, if I look at one, there's not one moving. What there is a probability wave. That waves are always there, and you're not interacting with it. But when you do say, I'm going to take a look at this atom, oh, there, I can now see that atom. It is in one spot. You just tuned into one atom right there. Boom, there it sits. It's not moving. It's not doing anything else. But if you keep doing it, what you see is the wave pattern reappears again. And if you could take one atom and probably do them all at the same time, they probably wouldn't be in a wave because they're all at the same time. You need distance. A wave has to have time pass by in order to complete. A wave is a complete cycle from zero to positive to negative. However, it's a complete cycle, except when you introduce I was going to say the passage of time, but I think it's actually the motion, distance. If you take something that's like just generating up and down and not moving, it's not a wave. But once you introduce the passage or distance and it has to move, then suddenly it turns into a wave. So that's what everything is. Things are going positive and negative, and they're in motion, so they're going to be in waves. That's a fun thing, huh? Anyway, so our brains come in there, but our brains at a quantum level, at a very small level, we're all connected to these fields. And we are sensing and we're feeling. When we evolved, I suspect we evolved with kind of two basic core emotions that we can share, fear and joy. Those two, one opposite each other. We had to be afraid when something was going to kill you, and what would be the opposite? When you had food and nothing was after you, you would be happy if everything was okay. You're going up and down in this experience, and before language, we're sharing this field. It's not very strong, but it's there. We evolved with the senses necessary to survive. We didn't evolve with the senses necessary to read the rest of the cosmos. We're an incredibly tiny amount of what is actually there. We don't need to evolve to see that, though. Maybe there's something on it. Yeah, anyway, we didn't evolve to be very attached to that field. However, as time goes on, humans develop language. Now other things can happen. I want to tell you about my experience. This is what I go by. Mine was when I was young. My brother took his life, tragically. I was 9. He was 11. He hung himself in the woods. Before I went outside, he was alone. We're very close. Before I went outside, it was like a palm hit me in the forehead going out the door. I'm sneaking out. It stopped me dead in my tracks. And I heard 2 words, Larry's dead. I felt that for a split second viscerally. I experienced that. I shook it off and went, oh, that's crazy. But for that moment, it was an experience. I went out and I found him, and indeed he was gone. So that's an anecdotal story. That's my experience. That's what drives me, and it makes me think, what is that? Of course, as a kid, you're told, Larry's spirit. Yeah. Or God's warning you something. It's things that don't make sense to you. You're like, I don't see that. I really don't. There's something else going on there. But if within those fields, Larry is indeed gone, and I'm sure there's pain, turmoil, anguish, things at some point. as he stepped off the stump, that there is some reach out that he's doing in the cosmos. By the time it got to me, I realized now it was too late. It didn't say Larry's almost dead. It didn't say hurry. It didn't say anything like that. It was already a done deal, and my brain is the one that knew Larry and that knew what dead was. I plugged that in because I was aware of his demise somehow. And that's how I would explain how it worked. The question is, how do we interact with it? How do we flow there? Is that the Tao? I believe it is. When we're talking about the flow in life, this is the energy flow. This is how we're interacting with each other in these energy fields. And it's the very quality of what we're holding up here at a quantum level that literally takes us through fields that creates our life experiences, and that changing these up here changes that field. But it doesn't just change your life experience. I mean, life experience means relationships too. Or it can, depending on the level of change necessary. If a couple of people have got a couple of issues and they work out their differences, they're okay. People that have come from very bad, hurt places and have a lot of issues and a lot of angst, if you go through a healing process, you're going to change your flow. You're not going to fit where you are anymore. So those are all parts of what this training or what the template level is not really teaching us this right here. They didn't know. There's nothing quantum there other than, that we emerge from the waves. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that they knew quantum anything, but we do emerge from waves. We are waves. We continue to be waves. But for a time frame, our awareness is such that we continually focus our five senses out to the physical world, while the vast majority of us is probably somewhere else. But that our life unfolds for us based on the quality of the things that we're holding up here that continues to bring us through that field. Anyway, I think that's how the supernatural works. And that's why, I guess I don't want to go there. I know other people have had their own experiences. And this can be a touchy subject for some people, because some people really want to say, these big, blown out, long, drawn out experiences that they swear are real. And I can tell you that from being in the field, that moment of time, hearing and feeling and sensing Larry's dead, at that moment, it was real to me. And it was already real. It simply wasn't a part of my accepted awareness yet. So I have no doubt that somebody says, I saw this and I felt it. It was real. Yeah, I get that. You experienced the field, but I think that a lot of the things that we see are coming from imagination, our minds plugging things in. We're seeing things, we're running away, we're evolving with minds that are painting this picture of what's going on out there in a three-dimensional space so we can kind of keep track of what's going on. And anyway, that's what I think the supernatural is, and how we can illustrate that interaction with fields. I kept thinking about, have you made it this far? Quanta. You know how energy, there's like steps. It's quantized. And you go, oh, that's weird. Then you begin looking at ripples and you watch them collide. And I know from my background in life, radio frequencies and electronics and things like that, when you mix two frequencies together, you get the sum, you get the difference, you get the original frequency. And as these keep mixing, we would have to filter that stuff out if you're transmitting it. You don't want to transmit a signal they were called side lobes, and it would create noise everywhere. So you put these filters on to make sure that whatever you're transmitting stays within this narrow band. Those are normal things. When you mix two frequencies together, that happens. It has to be cleaned up. The universe isn't cleaning it up. It's just mixing it until it gets so freaking small that's why I think, oh, maybe that's why quanta is. It goes to the Planck length, maybe. But then that goes, then you go, well, if it's like that then, and we only see the energy at the top of the wavelength, then we're on one side of a substrate and something is on the other side, or it might be this way or whatever, that whenever the blank is a high somewhere else. So I would say that we're like 50-50 blinking off and on in reality here at a rate so fast we can't perceive it. Which means we could be coexisting with other existing life. Who knows what? Maybe that's where all the aliens come from. They're right here. They just somehow found a way to cross over that threshold of make a quantum jump, quantum leap. Yeah. It's weird. We keep coming up with this, but damn, something's here. Anyway, that's how I would think to myself how it works. And then I know from personal experience that taking the things that used to hurt me really severely, working through them till they don't anymore. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good with that stuff. I'm separate. I'm not dragging it with me anymore. Life's different. Relationships are different. It is. It does. It does work. No. Okay, that's it. Supernatural. Yeah, it needs to be a part of this process, I think, because there is something that happens, but it's natural. I don't think we can measure it well. But I think that if we understand the potential for it to function and work is right there. Our brains are there. We're transmitting our own fields. If I feel fear, I'm radiating that. People can pick up on that fear. They may or may not. We can get into groups where we're all doing something together and we're all accepting a certain something and we all feel this mutual increased uplifting that we can't feel on our own. You can, however, go into a church where people are worshiping and celebrating and worshiping and getting that whole high feeling, that cumulative feeling. If you join them in the same belief, you will have that experience. If you're standing right there going, this is not real at all, you won't feel the experience. Your mind has the perception, the acceptance or the non-acceptance is what makes it happen. That's how our entire life works, the decision of how things are there. It is a normal flocking thing, though, I believe. We all experience it. I can have conversations with people sometimes that get very enlightening, and you're, oh my God, I don't know how to describe the feeling, like love or something like that. It's like, man, there's just this open connection that's like, oh my God, what is this feeling? Yeah, that happens to everybody for a variety of reasons. And it's that field. We're sharing our emotional connections in that field, which means also when we're in traffic or when we're impatient, things like that, you can see some people are in a crowd, they're like all caught up in it. They're attached to it. Other people got something else going on, sitting in traffic, doesn't matter. It's the same as the church thing. Are you connected with it or not? You can either experience it or not up here. But it is something literally that's happening out there. We are functioning in fields at a quantum level, at a brain level. And I think we can observe that enough to go, yeah, that's probably true. And if we use the radio station analogy, you can go, yeah, it's there all the time. That's why it seems magical. It goes to your conscious mind, but it doesn't come through the five senses. It comes from somewhere else. So you're like, what is that? It's coming from the quantum fields, I believe. Anyway, okay. How fun was this video? I hope it was. Love one another. See you in the next one.